Now we go to Ecuador, that is also holding a referendum and popular consultation that include sensitive aspects for national politics and security. In this context, we invite Dr. Ivonne Tellez, international politics expert. Hi Ivonne, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, Alejandra. Happy to be here.
Ivonne, to begin, how would you describe the political and social environment in which this referendum is taking place today?
Well, Ecuador is highly divided, mainly due to the polarization that the same government has been carrying out, because since President Noboa has been in charge, one of the main characteristics is to exert a kind of a division between those in favor and those against. And in that context, what the government has done is try to convince the population that those against his ideas or his initiatives are against democracy, against security, and against the values that he's withstanding. So it's a highly polarized, but also a highly misinformed population, a highly misinformed group of people that do not know very well what's the agenda, the current agenda, because everything has been wrapped in a sense of a propaganda, but not in a real political agenda or a real political program that is managing the state. So this is what we find, that this is what we can see in the streets. There's a divided opinions between those yes and no against today's poll in Ecuador. So I think that's the environment. I also have found, and this is based on research, academic research, that most of the high ages of the population, I'm talking about people 40 years old and above, are more critical of the government. Those are alleging for and promoting the no vote. Before, the most youngest people and the youngest part of the population, who are the most misinformed, and those are, I think, are the most available for the government propaganda, and those are the ones that have fallen into this discourse of the yes, of the security, of the military bases, and all these things that are being decided today.
And Ivonne, speaking about the content of this process, one of the most controversial points is the possibility of allowing foreign military bases in Ecuador. On your opinion, what concerns are rising about sovereignty, regional geopolitics, and democracy regarding this specific aspect?
Well, I think this question is one of the most sensitive, in fact, because as you're saying, is not only a sovereign decision. We're not talking just about the interest of Ecuador, but geopolitical interests that are being carried out, that are at stake here. I think in that sense, there seems to be kind of a moderate position, because under these polls or these studies that were being held before today's election, most of the people tended to say no and tended to show that they were going to vote against this one. What is at stake? Well, of course, sovereignty, because that means that due to also the closeness that Ecuador and the United States have right now, but also, of course, the fact that the Ecuador can be an autonomous country regarding issues that deal with its security concerns. The other thing is that, of course, we all know that this is not a legitimate interest of favoring Ecuadorians and favoring their security, but on the other sense, what is being held here is a very strong geopolitical interest to get into the Indo-Pacific Ocean and to kind of restrain China's hegemonic pressure and hegemonic not just pressure, but just standing here in the Pacific. So, of course, this goes under the geopolitical interest of the United States, how it is trying to recover its hegemonic power within the Latin America and within the oceans, and especially the Pacific Ocean. What I think is that people are getting or being aware of this because there has been a very strong campaign towards the no, towards explaining what is behind those interests. Also because what we've seen historically, and that's also a fact, for example, in Colombia, military bases in our countries do not represent anything. I mean, do not constrain drug dealing. Also, they do not represent any winnings regarding the drug dealing politics. So it is there's something behind that doesn't deal and doesn't mean anything getting better with its presence. So, and the last thing that I want to take into account is that this is prohibited under the Constitution of Ecuador. So, of course, this is what's being decided today because the idea of stating military bases in Ecuador, again, has to go under a constitutional reform. And that's what's being decided. That's what the government is trying to do because this is a prohibition under the Constitution.
Also, another of the aspects of this consultation is the elimination of state funds for political parties. How could this damage small parties and social movements in the country and also representativeness in the country?
Well, there's, of course, I think it's a demand for a technocratic state and a demand for a minimization of the state. We understand that there have been strong demands of reforming those institutions that sometimes have fallen into corrupt conducts. But, however, reducing the size of the institutions of the state and reforming, for example, the size of the funds that go for the political parties, that means that tends to weaken representation, particularly minorities and rural sectors. It also increases the dominance of the executive, that's already a chronic problem in Ecuador. And that risks pushing parties toward private and also to opaque funding streams, opaque funding systems. So even if these measures try to show a little popular support, what they reflect in reality is a technocratic desire to shrink politics. And that, of course, in the long term would mean the reduction of accountability.
One last question, Ivonne. In general terms, if this consultation is approved as it is proposed, what would be the implications in terms of human rights for Ecuadorians?
Well, I think that's one of the main concerns. It is indeed because what we've seen is that those measures proposed all tend to weaken the human rights regime, tend to weaken the safeguards and the guarantees that the Constitution offers towards citizens and towards specific groups. There's a high risk of what could happen. We do not know the scenario, but definitely it is a reality that those measures, all of them, and for who are listening to us, uh, excuse me, who are listening to us at the moment, that means that all of them tend to weaken and to restrain and to reduce the safeguards, the human rights safeguards. So that's a high risk. That's a high risk because there's a issue of sovereignty. There's an issue of of the shrinking of the state, and that means that in that sense, all the institutional guarantees that are proposed and that have been at stake in the constitution and that also have been weakened by the current government that we have, tend to lessen the human rights guarantees, the human rights regime. So it is a high risk for the Ecuadorians. We hope that those measures do not do not pass. Because we are there's a big sector of society that is worried about the outcome. That will mean also that the executive will gain more power, and without guarantee, without constitutional safeguards, that means the risk of abuse and the risk of a growing authoritarianism.
Thank you very much, Ivonne, for joining us today in this crucial moment for Ecuadorians.
Thank you very much.
We are speaking to Dr. Ivonne Tellez, international politics expert, in the context of Ecuador's referendum and popular consultation underway in Ecuador today.